Hi everybody, welcome to the Limit Breakdown, where we review everything in TV shows, movies, and entertainment. I'm your host, Sid.
I'm Migs.
And today we're going to be reviewing the first episode of The Last of Us series on HBO Max. So stick around after our intro for our deep dive review of The Last of Us.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Limit Breakdown. Today we're going to be reviewing The Last of Us on HBO Max. This is the first episode that just finished airing this past weekend. So we're going to start off with you, Sid. What were your initial thoughts?
So we've done the review of The Last of Us before.
The video game, yes.
The video game itself, and I absolutely love the video game. I think it's a phenomenal game, phenomenal storyline. I was very excited when the show got announced because not only do I love Pedro Pascal, I also like Bella Ramsey from Game of Thrones. Both Game of Thrones veterans. So, they're bringing a lot of talent to the table. I actually really enjoyed the first episode. Very compelling, very true to the plot of the game. And I think that how they're gonna play it out is gonna be slightly different from the show, from the video game, but it's still gonna be tasteful. So far, everything I've seen is really well paced, really well choreographed as far as the movement and everything, and the cinematography so far has been really good. So far I'm enjoying episode 1.
Yeah, I agree 100%. One of the reasons I was cautious about this show, I mean, HBO has done a fantastic job with the properties that they've turned into TV shows. This show was written by Neil Druckmann, who wrote the original game. So he's playing a big part in the production of this.
Nice.
And then it is being directed by the same director that did the
Chernobyl.
The director that directed Chernobyl is the director for The Last of Us.
Nice.
So, I don't know if you watched Chernobyl.
I have not watched it.
It's a 10 episode miniseries. Absolutely amazing.
Really?
Absolutely amazing.
Write that down in my list.
So I was very excited when I saw that he and Neil Druckmann were going to be working together on The Last of Us, and then of course with Pedro Pascal as Joel and Bella Ramsey as Ellie. I already was a fan of Bella Ramsey from Game of Thrones. I thought I was excited for her as Ellie because I thought she would bring a lot of that sassiness.
Yeah.
And it was very, very much appropriate for a character like Ellie. But for me, everything in this pilot episode came down to how they got that opening sequence. And for me, it was absolutely a success. Like, every time I've played the game and I go through the opening sequence, and you meet Sarah, Joel's daughter, and you go through that day, I forgot that it was Joel's birthday.
Yeah.
In that opening day, in that opening sequence, and so they did what I didn't think they were able to do, which was make you care about Sarah. In a way, like they made her so much more compelling. They added so much more.
Her going to the store.
To go to the watch. Her having those little interactions with the neighbors. The banter back and forth of them at breakfast. And like you said, very faithful to the source material. Some of those scenes were pulled directly out of the game.
Yep.
And the actors had that chemistry. Like, you could see Joel and Sarah as actual father and daughter. You could see the warmth and the care there from Joel, and then
the banter between Joel and Tommy, his brother.
Yeah.
Also same. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, they did great in the casting of Tommy as well, and in the original game, part of when Sarah wakes up and starts hearing the commotion, Joel's not there, and you don't really know what's going on. I like that they filled in the gap, and they had the phone call from Tommy saying, "Hey, I got locked up. I got into a fight, and da 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 da." And then, it makes a lot more sense because people are getting infected, people are reacting. If you notice, there was little hints of the infection all throughout the early parts of the episode, like when she's in class and there's a reflection from the kid's watch that keeps distracting her, and she looks over at the kid, and the kid's looking straight, but his hand's twitching.
Yeah, I saw that. When she's at her neighbor's house after school, and she's looking at the books or whatever, DVDs, I think. And the old lady that's in the wheelchair is like doing a little clicks.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I thought it was gonna I thought she was gonna turn right there. That was really good. Things like that. And I think right at the beginning, the first scene is they actually introduced the fungus and what it could be.
Oh yeah. When they opened it with that interview from like the 1960s when they were talking. It was a very, very interesting way to bring in the series fun fact about Fun Guy is that the fungus that is the reason for the outbreak is cordyceps, and it's based on a real life fungus. And it has the actual same real life effect. Like, it'll take over and use the ants as marionettes, as the scientists describe, and slowly eat them away from the brain down into the into its body and decays. It's spreading. So thankfully it's not transmissible to humans yet.
Mother Nature. I think that opening sequence, very heartfelt, very very well done, very well written. The part where she goes to school, then she steals the money to steals his own money
to pay
for the thing, and at the end when she finally presents them the gift, and he's like, "Where'd you get the money?" She's like, "Drugs," and she's like, "Also, I kind of stole it from you, but I put the rest back. I could have pocketed it." So it was like that funny banter. She was very honest with him. I thought was fantastic. The scene leading up to when they're running away, like you said, straight out of the game. They're stopped by the military, and the guy was like, they have a little girl, and they're like, terminate.
Yeah, so she they're involved in a car crash that has them split up from Tommy. She gets her ankle hurt. I didn't remember this aspect, but I didn't remember the zombies in this being runners. So like I remember I remember the clickers, and but I don't remember them being runners in the initial stage. So that's terrifying. The scene where she first walks into the neighbor's house after the dog came in, and you see the grandma just
my
attacked.
heart cried when that dog came in.
Oh, but you see the little feelers coming out of the mouth. Oh, that was so. But yeah, no, for me, everything came down to Sarah's death. When the soldier stopped them, and then he was given the order to execute, and then, kudos to the soldier. This is an unnamed part, but he's like, repeat what you just said one more time? Like, you want me to do what?
Yeah.
And, you could tell that, he's having process, and now, Tommy and Joel, there was a bumper sticker that said Gulf War veteran. I don't know if that was Tommy's. If Tommy was Tommy, or was it Joel?
It's for Joel, I think.
Because I thought it was Tommy's truck, but it could be wrong. Because I knew Tommy was a veteran, but I didn't know Joel was.
Maybe you're right.
But that had me a little. But either way, Joel was familiar enough to recognize the reaction, and he kept reiterating, "Hey, we're not sick. We're not sick." Yeah. And then he goes ahead and guns them down. Joel falls. The soldier's about to kill Joel, and then Tommy comes in and saves the day.
Straight out of the game.
Tommy, having had that prior military experience, recognizing the wound, recognizing that there's nothing that they can do at that point.
He just stands there.
He
just was very. I was very good. It was very
and like the very first time I saw this scene playing the game, it had me blubbering like a kid.
Yeah.
And then
I was not expecting that.
And even having the prior knowledge of knowing that that's going to happen, it was still so difficult to watch. And like both Pedro Pascal's performance and the actress that played Sarah.
Yeah, she did a fantastic job.
Like the fact that
Nico Parker is her
yes. The fact
she did a phenomenal job of dying, not to be rude, but like it was really compelling, like very, you felt emotionally attached to
and there were little things that they did with the camera that I noticed that I thought further cemented how seamless that transition was, because throughout the early part of that beginning sequence, you would not have been faulted to think that Sarah was going to be the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was being done from her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You could see her growing into this world. It'd be like, oh, okay, it's going to be interesting to see how she reacts. After the car crash, and the scene picks up, the camera level is raised to match Joel's eye level. And then everything is done from Joel's perspective from that point going forward. And like I said, that scene doesn't get any easier. And for me, that opening sequence is what has me most excited for the show, because if they didn't nail that, then the rest of the show was gonna be hard to really find a compelling reason to care.
Yeah.
About the characters.
So now the second half of the episode now this takes place 20 years later
in Boston.
After that incident in Boston. The world has been infected, obviously, and there's small groups of survivors everywhere. Joel happens to be one of them, and looks like from the show, he just worked for scraps. He does whatever job comes up.
What is it? Scruffy-headed nerf herder or smuggler?
Well, they didn't officially say he's a smuggler in this one. He just happens to be able to. He just does the jobs that are required, and he has connections to get stuff. Mm-hmm. So they don't, in the show, don't necessarily say that he's a smuggler. He just has connections to get stuff.
It was one of those things that was kind of like implied, like when Marlene originally proposed that they be the ones to move Ellie. The first thing Joel says is, "We move products, not people."
Fair.
So, and like I said, the interactions. The opening sequence with the little boy approaching the quarantine zone, and then them testing him, seeing he's infected, and then of course them lying to him and telling him, hey, everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna give you some medicine. We're gonna get you some toys and some food, and everything's gonna be great. And then they euthanize him.
Yeah, that was a very. That scene was insane.
And then of course, with the bodies being burned, and then the one worker not being able to see the body of the kid we just saw, and then she's like, I can't, and then Joel just comes and just emotionless just picks him up and just chunks him into the fire. And
because clearly from after Sarah's he's kind of
well, I mean, it's you kind of have, I think one of the main reasons Joel has survived to this point has been because he's been able to turn a lot of that emotion off. And I mean, it started right from the get-go too, when they were driving across the highway and that family was stopped on the side of the road, and he was like, nope, just keep going. And that's one of the differences as to why other people are dead and he's still alive.
Very survival instinct, I agree.
So you have the thing with the fireflies. So you come across Ellie, which at first, she's faking who she is, saying her name is Veronica.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very, very Ellie-esque from the game.
Yeah.
Bella Ramsey nailed that part.
Yeah.
Because in the game, Ellie, at first at least, she was very annoying because she was this bratty kid, cussed left and right, did not care about anything, and I think Bella Ramsey captured the essence of Ellie from the game.
Fun fact, the actress that plays Marlene is the only voice actor from the game to play the character that they played. The voice actor for Marlene is the same actress playing Marlene in the TV show.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, so So moving into spoiler territories. With Ellie, the big thing with her is that she is immune to the virus.
Yep.
The reason why they had her held up is because she had been bitten and they didn't know if she was going to turn. But most people turn within 48 hours, and she had been bitten for like 2 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks, something like that.
So, the Fireflies at this point are realizing, hey, she might hold the key to some type of cure.
Yep.
So they're trying to get her to their research facility so that their doctors can examine her and see if they can come up with some type of cure.
Yep.
So all of this time, the Fireflies have been, doing like a little civil war thing with the remnants of the government, the Fedra. And I was looking at some of those scenes, right, and a very interesting conversation that I came across with a friend of mine, because it was like, man, it seems like such a brutal military dictatorship. They were hanging people for going out into infected areas and just all of this, but it's like, man, like how do you maintain security in that scenario where all it takes is one infected person to kill everyone?
So they have to be very strict, very rigorous about everything. And it makes sense. I mean, it's brutal, but it makes sense of why they do that. So moving forward, so obviously now at this point, so how Ellie and Joel meet is Joel's partner was tricked for a car battery that he needed to save his brother.
Yes.
Tommy is out there somewhere in the world. They don't know he's been gone for 3 weeks. Joel wants to save him. He wants to get the car battery, but the person who was supposed to get it, Robert, double-crossed them, sold them. So he's like, we're gonna bring it back. They go to the area. Unfortunately, fortunately, I guess they meet Ellie
and Marlene.
So
Robert tried to double-cross the Fireflies, who he had double-crossed Joel with originally. So they get into a shootout. They kill him. The battery he was trying to sell them was a bad battery to begin with. So they walk into this situation expecting to deal with Robert, and they come across Marlene, and they're like, yeah, nah, this isn't going to work out. But we got this kid that needs to get to this place, and if you take her to the state courthouse,
we'll give everything you want.
We'll give you a car, weapons, ammunition, supplies, and you can go look for Tommy.
Yep. So that's their first meeting, and I thought that first interaction of how Joel and Ellie meet, I wanted it to be important, and it was. As soon as Ellie opens the door, Joel's like, throws her to the wall, right? So immediately, instinct. He's a fighter. He has those instincts, and Ellie was like, "What the hell? How did this guy just do me?"
Yeah.
Right. So that could possibly show that she is now going to trust him because he can do that. And then he points the gun at her, trying to get answers from Marlene. Marlene's like, "Please point it to me, not the girl."
Yeah.
And then they actually said in the show saying, that means she's desperate. So this is clearly something important. That first meeting says a lot.
Yeah.
Right. So when they say the phrase, your first interaction is always the most important. That interaction I thought was really important and really well done as far as the whole scene goes. Moving forward, they're going through trying to escape. They finally get out of the city. The girl's like, "Oh my god, this place is amazing." And they run across a military guy who happens to be the person Joel sold some pills to earlier. And he's like, "Bro, I told you to get out of the streets. Now I gotta do what I gotta do."
Yeah.
Which I thought was very clever. Had it been any other soldier, I think they would have just taken him out. But it was the fact that it was that guy. He was trying to bargain with him, I think. It was very clever. The one thing I will say I did not like as much in this show, so the big reveal, right, which you had mentioned earlier, is we finally get to see why Ellie's important is because she's immune. Because she has that rash. Or whatever, right?
Yeah, the bite. Yeah.
And when they scan everybody, they're negative, she's positive. And Tess, right? Tess was like, "Yo, she's negative. What the hell?" And then this is a chance for Ellie to explain, "No, I'm good. Like, this has been 3 weeks old." In the game, that scene was very, very crucial and important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she sat there begging me, like, look, I'm trying to explain this to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the show, I think it was too quick.
It was rushed, yeah.
If you took a sip of water or you looked away for a second, you would have missed that entire line. And then you would have just gone to the next scene of them trying to run away.
Well, that was the ending scene, too.
Yeah.
So I think they're probably going to take the first part of the next episode to kind of focus on that a little bit. But I think it was meant to be a bit of a cliffhanger.
I mean, that's fine, but it should have been more of an should have been more of an impactful cliffhanger, not just no. It's been 3 weeks old. We got to get out of here. Cool.
Yeah.
Skip over that part.
More importantly, in that scene, I thought. I mean, yeah, I don't particularly like how they did that reveal. Although it is closely similar to how it was in the game, I just think it was very better fleshed out in the game.
Definitely.
But them showing basically Joel's PTSD over the situation with Sarah.
When he's flashing. When
he's flashing the light, and then he points the gun at Ellie, and then he's just like, nope, this isn't happening again, and he just basically beats beats the dude to death.
Oh man!
And
insane.
so
Insane.
it's it was very impactful. Like the entire scene, it worked for me. And like I said, I think the reveal of her being immune was a little bit rushed, but I'm hoping that they can redeem it in the next episode.
Yeah.
But overall, man, I think it's a very, very, very positive start to this series. Yeah. It's probably the best situation that I could have possibly hoped for. Mm-hmm. They've stuck to the source material way more than I thought. And it's one of those things, like, video game adaptations typically get a bad rap, and it's typically not undeserved. And I've always thought to myself, it's like, I wish we could get a video game adaptation where they build on the material that's there instead of changing it and adding stuff that's unnecessary. But I felt like they did that with this. They took the existing material, they literally pulled scenes right out of the game.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they built on the material that was already there to expand on the story. And if they continue to do that for the duration of the series, man, this is going to be an amazing show.
Yeah. So I have a few final thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Two main thoughts. Well, a thought and then an idea. So I've always said this before. Whenever they make an adaptation of something else, or they remake something, my thought is always there's two ideas, right? Mm-hmm. One, how does whatever the new is, how does it hold up to the old? And on the other hand is, what if let's just say the original did not exist? Would the new still be as good, right? So in this, I want to see how this show plans out. Is it going to be a frame to frame, really well done of exactly what the game was, or are they going to bring something new but in a tasteful way? Like, yes, it might be different, but it's still good, supposing the original didn't exist. So I'm very excited to see how they're going to play this out. And for an unbiased view, so my fiance Linda has never played the game of Last of Us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have her watch it from an unbiased point of view and see if she likes the story. Because you and I have played the game, and obviously we're comparing it to the quality of the game, right? But someone who's never played the game or knows the story, would they still find this entertaining? Yeah. So it gives us both sides of the coin.
I see that.
What about your final thoughts?
Like I said, I'm very excited for what's to come forward. And the perspective that you gave of comparing the original, if the original didn't exist, is very interesting to me. Because like I said, I was not expecting them to be as faithful as they were, so I'm very, very excited. And I'm curious as to how far they're going to take the show. Like, let's say it is successful. What kind of pacing are we going to get? Because they could very easily do this as a 10-part series and just cover the events of the first game.
Mm-hmm. Like a mini series.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And or they could drag this out and, maybe take 2 seasons for the first game and then lead away
stuff,
into the next game. And there's a significant time gap in between the end of the first game and the beginning of the second game.
Mm-hmm.
So if they wanted to, fill in the story there, they
keep
very
going,
they very
They
well
have
could.
plenty of material.
So you could have, multiple seasons before you ever got to the events of the second game. And then, man, as controversial as the second game was, it'd be interesting to see a live action adaptation of that.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, we need to do a review of Last of Us 2.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for watching our review of The Last of Us TV show on HBO Max. Let us know what you thought of the first episode in comments below, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See you next one.
Beyond that, thank you guys for watching.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the video. Check us out on all of our different podcast platforms, on here on YouTube, on TikTok, all the other things. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time with our next review.